All right, it is 2 o'clock. I am Matt Zeman with EO Raleigh Durham, and welcome to our 11th virtual learning event of our series that we are calling Coronavirus in Your Business. And we have an awesome session for you today. So excited about this. Just real quick, Amy Henning, who's our chapter manager, has been awesome in putting these together. Also, a special call out to Olivia over at EO Global. She's been great in helping us spread the word. It's wild to see people from all over the United States and the world. It looks like we have somebody on from New Zealand today, Canada, the Philippines. It's wild. So just what started, this series started as a way to just kind of connect our chapter in light of us canceling all of our in-person events. And it's turned out to just have a lot more interest. So very grateful and thank you all for coming. We'd like this session to be as interactive as possible, and I plan to open up the conversation to questions and interactions in classic EO style. So ways you can interact. You can put questions in the question panel, and if you do that, we will do our best to read them to Grant and have him answer them. You can raise your hand, and in that case, that'll let me know that you have something you'd like to say. And then at an appropriate time, I will call on you and unmute your mic, and you'll be able to talk to Grant and the group directly. My email address, as well as Todd Atlas, who's our chapter president, is in the chat window. So if you have suggestions for different topics that you'd like to hear, feel free to send them to us. And just before we get going, a quick preview of next week's learning event. Next Thursday at 2 o'clock, Financial Markets Overview and Investment Outlook for Business Owners. So we have the Rumsey Hardinger group from Merrill Lynch Wealth Management talking kind of about what's happened, what does this mean, and what does this mean to you? So all of that is next Thursday at 2 o'clock, and you can register at eoraleighdurham.com/coronavirus. Also, Grant's presentation today will be at that site, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat room in just a minute. So today's topic is all about Google Ad Grants for nonprofits. This is so cool. I can't believe I did not know about this until meeting Grant. Grant is an EO Chicago member. He's going to show you in this webinar how you can do this for yourself. So you can do this for your chapter. If your chapter is not already taking advantage of this, you can do it for a nonprofit board that you're working on or on the board of. If you don't have the technical skills to get this done, we have set up a special arrangement with him, which he'll do it. His group will do it for you for a flat rate of $500. Again, he's going to show you how to do it yourself. And if you can do it, great. But if you want some help, $500 and it's done. And then they're also going to give a discount to managing your ad campaigns if you want that help on an ongoing basis, if you need it. And again, you can do it all yourself, but if you want help, Nonprofit Megaphone is there to do it. So I'm going to take myself off camera and mute myself, turn this over to Grant. And again, please raise your hand or put questions in there. Grant, all yours.
Thanks, Matt, and great to be here with everyone. As Matt mentioned, I'm part of EO Chicago, and been so impressed with what the EO Raleigh Durham chapter. I've participated as a viewer in lots of your webinars, so thanks for the resources that you're putting out for EO across the world. We can jump right in, and I guess, Matt, I'll just maybe say next slide to you, and we can do it that way. So the big message here, I know that we're all business owners, we have lots of things going on, so we want to be efficient with our time. The big message for us today is that the Google Ad Grant provides a significant opportunity to nonprofits, and that opportunity is even more important now because of COVID. It's been interesting. So we do this, we help nonprofits with the Google Grant. It's all we do as our business. We help like 330 nonprofits do this around the world. And they have been coming to us, our existing clients, and like they have all of these new things that they need to promote and get on out to the world, because now that everyone is staying at home to varying degrees in different parts of the country and the world, digital channels are more important than ever in terms of reaching that audience. If you're a nonprofit, you probably rely on a lot of events, and you can't do those events now. And so you need some kind of digital communication channel to fill that gap. And we've seen really cool ways, which I'll talk about towards the end, of ways that nonprofits have been creative. The goal for this session as a whole is to equip you with knowledge of what the Google grant is and what types of strategies nonprofits have been using to deploy it, so that if you're on a board of a nonprofit or there's an organization that you care about that's a nonprofit, you can potentially mention this to them and be really helpful for them as they try and adapt to the post-COVID world. So we can, Matt, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll go through a quick agenda here that we have for our time today. We'll talk about what the Google Ad Grant is, why it matters, what the eligibility looks like, as well as how it can help various nonprofit organizations, talk through FAQs, talk through, what does it look like to spend all of the ad grant? Does that matter? How do websites impact your results with the grant, and so forth. And then we put together some free resources at the end that you can use, just like little quick PDFs that you can send to nonprofit organizations, just lots of free info in case it'll be helpful to them. So we can dive in. Matt, if you want to jump to the next slide. So the Google Ad Grant, in a sentence, is $10,000 a month to spend on ads in Google search to help nonprofits reach their audiences. So as we all probably know, Google is an extremely powerful advertising platform because it allows you to target based on intentions and not just demographics. So if I'm running ads on Facebook, and let's say I'm a humane society, I can reach people who are, 25 to 45, female in Chicago. If I wanted to, I could target that, but I can't target people who want to adopt dogs. And that, if I'm a humane society, that's probably my most valuable audience. The cool thing about the ad grant is that you can reach people when someone wants to do something like that. Typically their first step, Google has trained us all as like a human race to type it into Google, adopt a dog, where to adopt a dog. And the Google Ad Grant and Google advertising in general allows organizations to place an ad. So at the moment of the person's intent, at their highest possible level of interest in adopting a dog, you can reach them and take them to your website and explain how it all works, and so forth. And so that's sort of the power of Google Ads. Typically though, for nonprofits, it's not cost effective enough. It's too expensive to do Google ad campaigns as a nonprofit. So it was over 15 years ago, Google created the Ad Grants program, which gives nonprofits $10,000 a month to spend on ads in Google search every month forever. And so it's just, as long as you continue to meet the program requirements, which we'll talk about, the grant continues forever and ever until the end of time. It's been going on for, over a decade and a half now. Interestingly, we do surveys about this. Many nonprofits still have not heard about it. We did a survey just a few weeks ago of the number of nonprofit organizations, big organizations. These are all organizations that have, dozens of staff. And we asked them, how effective has the Google Ad Grant been in reaching people during COVID? And half of them said very helpful or moderately helpful. And it's been great, and we're so thankful to have this tool. And the other half said, basically, what is the Google Ad Grant? We don't know what that is, and we don't use it at all. So there's still this knowledge gap where, for whatever reason, nonprofits haven't yet heard about it, which is why we're trying to do webinars like this and equip people. So that's what the Google Ad Grant is. If you want to jump to the next slide, we'll look at some examples. So this is the Google Ad Grant in action. This is one of our actual clients. They're called the COPD Foundation. That's their website URL right at the top there, copdfoundation.org. It's a respiratory ailment, and they help in a variety of ways for people that have or might have that condition. So in this case, this is something that I actually did. So I went and typed into Google, do I have COPD? And this is an extremely valuable search for this organization because they have lots of resources that they can connect people to for screening, for diagnosis, for like input and possible clinical trials. They have all these different resources. And so you'll see that this is an ad that our team wrote. So do you have COPD? Take our screener today. And if you click on that, you're taken to the COPD Foundation website. You can take their screener. And actually, as a result of these ads, hundreds of people take this screener every month, which is incredible. We feel so fortunate that as part of our work, things like this happen and like potentially life-changing impact happens as a result of running ads on Google search, which is such a blast. So that's one example. If we click to the next slide, we have another one for us here. This is the Rotary Foundation, which most people are probably have heard of, Rotary International. They have a big campaign to end polio, which has been mostly eradicated, and now we're just at like the final 1.5 or the 1 yard line of totally eradicating it for good, they think. So they have, Rotary Foundation has their main site, rotary.org. And then they also have this second site, endpolio.org, and we can promote that as well. So this is just, I'm including this example just so that you know that nonprofits, if they have multiple websites, you can actually use the Google Ad Grant to promote all of the different websites as long as there's a clear tie and the nonprofit owns them. So it's another fun example. If we jump to the next slide, the ad grant can also be used very effectively in response to current events. And COVID is sort of the mother of all current events, but this is an example from a little while ago when President George H.W. Bush passed away a couple of years ago, or last year. It came to light that he had a service dog with him in the last couple months of his life. And that service dog's name was Sully. Sully became famous. And so there were all these people, thousands of people searching for Sully the service dog. One of our clients, which is called America's Vet Dogs, you'll see their website right there, they trained Sully. So they sort of sprung into action. They made a landing page for it, and we put ads up for that really quickly. And so that all those people searching for service dog Sully could come to this landing page, learn about the organization. And they had, dozens and dozens of new people requesting to be volunteers, and dozens of requests for them to do speaking engagements, actually, as a result of this one ad campaign. So super cool. And there are lots of examples that I could share about that, about how if you have the ad grant at your disposal, when things happen and there are either positive events like this and the unexpected publicity, or negative events like COVID, and you sort of need to reach out to people for additional support, the ad grant gives nonprofits a lot of flexibility to be able to do that. So we can jump to the next slide. One final example here. Girls Who Code is another client. They actually have an office in Chicago and across different locations across the country. This one, you'll notice that they're showing up as the second ad. And this number one ad here, the allegedly number one ranked coding bootcamp, this is a for-profit company. So that's just one thing to quickly note about the ad grant. Google Ad Grant ads will show up below for-profit ads. And that's just because the Google Ad Grant, nonprofits aren't paying for it. And so Google continues to prioritize the people that are actually paying, but the nonprofits can still get a lot of great exposure. And as you can see, if you look at these two ads, they look exactly the same. There's no way to tell, which one's a nonprofit, which one's not. So nonprofits are in the exact same mix with all the other advertisers, and they have a chance to sort of get their message out there without having to spend a lot of money. So those are just a few examples for us, and we'll go through many others, but to quickly chat through eligibility, when we talk about the Google Ad Grant and tell people about it, folks are really surprised to hear how broad the eligibility criteria is. It's kind of like the PPP almost, where it's like basically everyone is eligible. And there's no employee requirement for the Google Ad Grant. So in the United States, the rules are slightly different in different countries. I know that we have folks from a variety of countries with us today, and we'll share some resources for those that might be outside the US. But in the United States, any organization that is a 501c3, which is the tax status for being tax exempt, any 501c3 organization that is not a government, which is easy, or a hospital or a school is eligible. In the hospital and the school example, if they have a foundation, that foundation can be eligible. So there's some sort of wiggle area for those types of edge cases, but by and large, like basically every nonprofit is going to be eligible unless they're a hospital or a school. There's no limit on revenue. There's no limit on how long the organization's been in business. And you just have to be a 501c3. Religious organizations are also eligible. It's a question we get a lot. They are as well. So everyone that's not a hospital or a school. And if we jump to the next slide, this is the process, and no need to memorize this graph. That Matt and team will be distributing the slides after this, and it'll be on the EO Raleigh-Durham website. But acquiring the Google Ad Grant is a 3-step process once you already are a 501c3. So there's a portal on Google's website called Google for Nonprofits, which is at google.com/nonprofits. And many organizations already have an account at Google for Nonprofits, which is nice. Through that portal, there are other programs as well in addition to the ad grant. So there's G Suite for nonprofits, which is basically free, business Gmail accounts for nonprofit organizations. Lots of folks have taken advantage of that. And so they may already have a Google for Nonprofits account, which makes the process even easier. If they don't have a Google for Nonprofits account, and this is sort of unfortunate, or if they've forgotten the login information to it, there are sort of steps to get past that. If they don't have one at all, the nonprofit first has to register with a website called TechSoup. It's at techsoup.org, which validates their 501c3 status. TechSoup gives them a token. They use that token to apply for Google for Nonprofits, and then they get approved for Google for Nonprofits. After that, you can then apply directly for the ad grant, and that is done through that google.com/nonprofits portal, and allows you to it's a 2-step application process. So you first submit the nonprofit's website for approval. There's a couple sort of quick checkbox items to make sure that their website's ready to go for the ad grant. Things like putting their EIN number in the footer, making sure that their 501c3 status is clear and apparent, and so forth. And then your website will get approved, and then you create a Google Ads account and you set up an initial campaign. Which can be a little bit trickier, but definitely doable. You then submit that for approval, and then Google reviews it. Typically takes a couple days. If they're really backed up, it sometimes takes a week or two. And then that's it. You get an email approval from Google. It says, "Welcome to the Google Ad Grant." Your account has $10,000 a month of credit, so the nonprofit never has to enter their credit card into Google's system at all. And actually, if you do, it messes up the process and you have to start over. So definitely don't enter any credit cards, and then you're all set. And the way that the $10,000 works is it's basically $329 a day. So if you have different ad campaigns running, you just want the total daily budget to equal $329. And then, you're off to the races. It won't let you spend more than $10,000. Even if you did, depending on if they're 30 or 31 days in a month, it sometimes can go a little bit over. The nonprofit won't get billed for that. It's they don't even have the nonprofit's credit card info. So that is the application process. And just to quickly address a question, thanks Dan for the great question of what are the details of school versus foundation split. There's some wiggle room here. So it depends on if Google, when Google goes to the organization's website, if a person's looking at it, do they think, oh, this is a school? And if it's like the official foundation arm of a school, or if it's a network of schools, we're talking to a network of schools right now that has lots of different schools across the country. Each of those schools are they're high schools. Each of those schools are their own nonprofit entity, and then the organization we're talking with is sort of like an umbrella support arm. They should be fine because they are not operating an entity that educates students and gives grades. They're operating sort of an educational support entity. So those are the details, and I'm happy to chat more about that if there's an individual example we can talk through. We have a full-time person who just helps people get approved for the ad grant, and we think she's done it more than any human being on the face of the earth. So happy to get her perspective as well. Matt, we may have lost the slides. Or no, here they are. Sorry, I just lost the slides. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, and I'll have my email at the end. Okay, jumping to the next slide. So a couple more examples. We saw some examples previously, but just to sort of spark people's imaginations, a couple ways the Google Ad Grant can help. First and foremost, driving awareness, which happens, in all campaigns, just as a natural byproduct. There's an organization that we work with called Penmar Human Services, which we've worked with for a really long time now. And they use the ad grant to reach people who have themselves or family members have intellectual disabilities and make them aware of the organization's services, which is a great use of the ad grant. Selling tickets, we have a number, and this has been tough during COVID for some of these organizations. We'll talk about how they're adjusting, but it's a great way to sell tickets. We have a number of symphony clients, orchestra clients, museum clients, zoo clients, aquarium clients that all use the ad grant just to inform people of their venue, of the events and activities that happen there, and encourage people to buy tickets. Thought leadership is also a great use of the ad grant. UNCF, which supports all of the, not all of, but many of the historically Black colleges and universities in the United States. They're sort of another umbrella supporting education organization. They produce lots and lots of thought leadership research on the economic impact the HBCUs are having. And they can get that out to a really broad audience using the ad grant. Events are also a great thing, or even the use of event space. We have a botanic garden called Wellfield Botanic Gardens, which has beautiful facilities that people can come to and enjoy nature, and that they can also reserve as an event space or a wedding space. And they can use the ad grant to reach people that might be searching for that, or just looking for something fun to do on a weekend. Donors obviously are a huge driver for all nonprofits as well. When we explain the ad grant, we give the caveat that it's not productive to think about it as like, you'll just instantly get tons of new donors by running ads. The ads will help. They will absolutely help you engage with more people. But there's typically a few intermediate steps between clicking on an ad and swiping a credit card and donating. That said, there are always exceptions to every rule, and one of them is Habitat for Humanity. There's a Restore, actually in North Carolina. They allow people to donate household items, so like furniture, refrigerators. They pick it up for free. They give you a tax receipt for that donation, and then they resell those items in their thrift store, which they call a Restore, and that funds their operations of helping build homes for people. So really cool. They do actually, thousands and thousands of dollars in donations every month through the ad grant. And then visitors for events as well. And there are probably a dozen other different uses, but just wanted to share some of these to sort of get creative juices flowing for how the ad grant can be used. We can jump to the next slide. And we'll go through quickly a few frequently asked questions, just in case you're mentioning this, you're on a board meeting, you're mentioning this, and people ask questions. Our hope is that we can equip you and you'll sort of know the answer and look really smart. So first question, probably the most common, do all nonprofits spend the full $10,000 each month? And the answer is no. The average nonprofit actually spends like $800 a month of the ad grant. And some of that is because they maybe don't have the expertise to use it. Like our average client spends, thousands of dollars a month of the ad grant. But even then, not like all of our clients do not spend the full $10,000. And that's probably not a good way to look at success. So in many ways, since you're not actually paying for it, it is sort of like monopoly money where, however much monopoly money you spend doesn't really matter. What matters is how many people are you bringing to your website that they're learning about your work, and then what are they doing on the nonprofit's website after they arrive there. So there's this notion of conversion tracking. For each nonprofit we work with, we set up a tool called Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics, which lets them track when someone comes to their website, what is that person doing? Are they watching videos? Are they submitting forms? Are they clicking on a button to donate? Are they downloading a PDF resource? Are they taking a COPD screener quiz? What are they doing? And that's the way that success should be measured. And the goal is like every month that you work with the Google Ad Grant and that you're utilizing it, can you grow the number of people that are engaging with your organization and the number of people that are taking some kind of next step and doing a conversion action. The way the ad grant works, and the reason it's hard to spend the full $10,000 is that Google has compliance rules in place for managing the ad grant, which is which makes it a little bit more involved in terms of a time commitment. And those rules are basically designed to make sure that nonprofits are showing ads that are relevant to what the audience is searching for. So if you are if you're an organization that gives scholarships to kids to do tennis camps, and back in the day, so prior to 2018, you could have tennis be one of the keywords that you're targeting. So anytime someone searches for anything even vaguely related to tennis, your ad could potentially show up. So someone searches like, Wimbledon tennis schedule, in a year, your ad could potentially show up. And the ads, or someone searches like buy tennis balls, your ad's showing up. It's not actually relevant to what the person's searching for. And so Google put these compliance rules in place to make sure that basically if you're showing an ad, it has to be related, like more directly than that, to what the person is searching for. And so you basically can't blow the money, even if you tried. It has to be relevant, which is good in a way. And so the way that we think about it is, if you're, let's say you're a local animal rescue organization, you're in Chicago, just to use that as an example, success for you looks like having your ad show anytime someone Googles anything vaguely related to adopting an animal or animal welfare. And it may be that you can reach every single person that thinks about that and searches about it in Chicago for, $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month. That is success. How much of the $10,000 isn't necessarily, that's not what indicates success. It's, are you accomplishing the goal? So that's FAQ number 1, which I guarantee you will get. We can jump to the second one. FAQ number 2 is, does website quality impact results? So let's say we have 2 nonprofits, they do the exact same thing, they have the exact same staff, and one of them has a higher quality website. Will that nonprofit do better with the Google Ad Grant? And the answer is yes. And so then the follow-up question would be, what is it that constitutes making a website ready for the ad grant? What are those success factors that nonprofits can be thinking about? And this is a great way, again, to look like a total pro. So we made a free website rubric grader tool, which we can put a link to in the chat in case it's helpful at the end of this. But the main thing that it comes down to is how many pages on the nonprofit's website are what we call promotable. And there are 4 criteria for something being promotable. Number 1, does the page address a single topic? Is there some focus to the page? Number 2, is the topic something that people are actually searching for? So, how long does it take to adopt a dog? That is something that people are searching for. Whereas, here's how our latest fundraising event went. No one, unfortunately, is searching for that. So you want to make sure the topic is being searched. Number 3, is there sufficient content on the landing page? Google does not look super fondly on really sort of skimpy pages that maybe just have a few sentences of content. They want to know that if someone searches for something and clicks on the ad, is the question that they had going to be answered on this page, or is it just sort of a teaser? And then 4, is there a call to action, which is that 3rd bullet point on the slide here. The whole ad grant system is designed not just to get people to your website, but also to get people to take action on the nonprofit site. And so Google can see that. They can see if people are clicking on buttons and calling themselves to action, so to speak, and it will reward nonprofits that are doing that. It will show those ads more often because conversions are happening after the click. Other just, quick pieces of advice, keeping the website updated and mobile friendly, pretty much a no-brainer. Word count we've already talked about, and avoiding trying to have as much of the content on the nonprofit's website as possible. The ads can only go to the nonprofit's domain. So if they have, an external fundraising page on like Classy or Blackbud or something, one of these donation processors, the ads can't go directly to that page. And conversion tracking we've already chatted through. So that's FAQ number 2. FAQ number 3, our final one, we can jump to the next slide, is, I should have these memorized. What types of nonprofits benefit the most? So there are 3 big categories that we think about in terms of being ideal fits for the ad grant. So A, any organization that needs to reach a large audience. think about the like the COPD Foundation example. National audience, lots of people that are potentially impacted by this and thinking about it. Those organizations do really, really well. Second, and this is kind of like the Habitat for Humanity Restore example that we talked about, but nonprofits that have a clear revenue model that benefits when there are more eyeballs on it. We worked with a lot of YMCAs, JCCs, Habitat for Humanity Restores, but also, I mean, zoos, orchestras, aquariums, museums, any type of organization that needs sort of foot traffic and people engaging in that way. And then finally, anything that is sort of a hot topic. So lots and lots of people care about animals. Animal nonprofits almost always do really, really well with the Google Ad Grant. We have a whole page on our website explaining like why animal nonprofits just totally overperform. Advocacy organizations also do really well. Anything related to current events does really well because it lets you quickly get in front of people that might be searching for something new. And to quickly address Linda's question, great question, is there a way to change the website the ad leads to? And the answer is yes. So in a fully built out Google Ads account, there will be lots of different ads, each targeting lots of different keywords. And each of those ads can go to a separate landing page on the nonprofit's website that you can choose. Whoever's writing the ad can choose, you know, when someone searches donate your refrigerator, I want to show them an ad that says donate your refrigerator, here's how. And then I want to take them to the, you know, Habitat for Humanity Restore page on donating refrigerators. And the more actually that you can get like that, that tight correspondence between what people are searching for, what the ad shows, and what the landing page is, typically the better it performs. So yeah, choosing those landing pages carefully is really helpful. Phenomenal.
Hey, Grant, let me jump in here for a second. Matt Dowd from EO Baltimore wants to know, are there limitations to the number of messages, offers, etc.? In other words, if we're not sure that a message is resonating, does the grant rules allow us to test multiple advertisements at a time?
Absolutely. So no limit at all. You could have, we have some clients that have hundreds and hundreds of unique ads targeting unique keywords, and there's no limit at all. And it's actually encouraged because for a variety of reasons that I won't go into, but yes, like really efficient accounts have lots of different things. And Google actually, through the ad grant, this is a best practice for Google ads in general and ads overall, but Google forces you for each little cluster of ads that you write, which are called an ad group in their parlance, Google forces you to create multiple variants of the copy, and it will run those variants against each other and figure out which one performs better and then start to favor that. So it forces you to split test in effect.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, great question. All right, we can jump ahead to the next slide. So this is a resource that we put together. It's a PDF. It's like 17 pages, so a little bit in depth, but it's free and it's at nonprofitmegaphone.com/guide. That's just a shortened link that'll open up the PDF. So great resource that you can share with any nonprofit that might sort of be curious and want to roll up their sleeves and learn more. And if you have any, questions, thoughts about that, or if you catch any typos, it's fairly new. Please let us know, but hopefully that's a nice resource. And then I think, so just really quickly, as Matt mentioned, and this is not a sales pitch, but if we can be helpful, either acquiring the grant or running the campaigns, we're happy to. As of like a few days ago, we are apparently the #1 Google grant management company in the world, which is hilarious. And my name is Grant, so it was destined from birth. So anyway, happy to help however we can. And then we can just jump to the end, which is just my contact info and our website. Happy to answer any questions. And thanks so much to everyone.
Grant, that was awesome. In 35 minutes, you knocked that out. I can tell you just from the time we met, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we've already gone through the TechSoup process. We've got that certification. We're in the waiting for Google approval, and just so excited to have $10,000 a month to spend with take2minutes.org. It's just so cool. I can't believe I did not know about it. Hey, Amy Henning here from EO Raleigh wants to know, is there a number of ads and landing pages for an EO chapter that you recommend? So at least in our case, we're a nonprofit. I think every chapter in the country is a nonprofit. What's the best practice for an EO chapter for setting this up?
As many as possible. And as like we've chatted with a number of EO chapters about this, and I would say, just like off the cuff, that an effective strategy for an EO chapter would be trying to have lots of content on your chapter specific website that answers questions that entrepreneurs might be asking about. So like PPP, beautiful example. Lots of people asking questions about that. Great topic to have. And you already have a number of webinars that you've created, I believe, on that topic. So that could be, great content for a landing page. In a perfect world, you'd make a list of, here are the 10 or 20 different number one questions that we think entrepreneurs are asking. Let's make a page for each of those on our website. And then in Google, it's called an ad group. So let's make a group of ads and a group of keywords that target each of those areas. We'll send the people to those landing pages we made for the ads, and then have some kind of call to action there about, signing up for an email list to learn more about EO or whatever it is, some kind of next step to get people engaged, talk to a member, whatever you want it to be.
So you're saying ask any question an entrepreneur could ask. So what can I do for HR management, or better, how to find the best PEO, or any question, best business bank, where to get a business loan. Hijack those common questions with Google Ads.
Exactly. Yeah. And have some content that adds value, that shares a perspective, tap into EO Raleigh members and their expertise. And then
strategic alliance partners, I would imagine we could go to our sponsors and have them write the content for pages and put them on our site.
Yeah. And tell them, hey, and then we'll be putting, hundreds or thousands of dollars of ad money behind, promoting you guys as well, because you'll be on this page.
So I know if any participants on the webinar have experience with this and want to share, would love to have your sharing experience as well. If you don't, totally get it. But raise your hand and I can unmute you if you do. That's super cool. I mean, we were thinking from an EO chapter perspective that, like, when we do an EO Talks event next year, where we're going to partner hopefully with the Triangle Business Journal, that we could then say to them, hey, you give us the paper press and yours, we're going to give $300 a day towards advertising the event. And this is what we're going to contribute, but we'll cross promote you the whole time. That gives us a value that we can bring to a different media sponsor. But it did not occur to me to try to hijack entrepreneurs just asking different questions. So Linda Medina, who is from, let me see here, Inland Empire, EO has a question. I'm going to unmute her now. And Linda, go ahead. What is your question?
Hi, I actually don't have a question, but you said to raise our hand if you want to share.
Yeah, please.
Just because I've been doing this since about August of 2019. Somebody in EO posted about this. That's why I found out, and I actually got in right away. I did it for EO Inland Empire, which is here in Southern California. And we got approved right away. I got it set up all the way. It was great. But I've spent, since August of 2019, I've spent $27.90 in ads. So, and we had like a Facebook ads manager that was helping us, but he didn't know about it and all that. So it is hard to spend that money. I mean, I haven't even made it to the $100 yet. And I know that, I think it said that if you don't spend it, you get it taken away, but we haven't gotten it taken away. Nobody has reached out to us. So this is great. And I'm definitely going to reach out to you, Grant, for that same reason, because I want to do better with it.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's funny. We talked to a lot of people. You're not alone in that exact same bucket. We've had it for 6 months. We've spent $4. Like, what's happening? So yeah, happy to talk more about your individual situation and so forth and see if we can be of help, but you're not alone, and way to go getting it. Like, that's such an awesome step just by itself.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank
Grant, let me continue down what Linda was just talking about and just clarify something. So I know you have your program where, well, you don't normally, but for EO members, you'll do $500 to get them the grant. So what Linda was able to do by herself, $500, you can do that either way. But then if you already have the grant, as an example of Linda, and you want ongoing support, you have a monthly program where you will manage the ads. Is that like an indefinite thing, or could someone like Linda work with you, get all this set up and configured, learn the best practices, and then take it from there? So is there like a training wheels program? How does it work?
Yeah, it depends. It's interesting. So we do that sort of the training wheels approach sometimes. We used to do more of it, and what we found, unfortunately, is that the ad grant rules are constantly evolving. There's sort of like always new things that are happening. And a number of the clients that we did that with years ago, we set them up, they were doing great, they sort of took it over. And then I actually talked to one of them like last week, and then it just totally blew up like 6 months later because they didn't have the time to keep investing in it, and the person left and it was a big mess. So with that caveat, yes, we do have the capacity to help in that way in sort of a more short-term sense. I'd say that 95% of our clients see it's an opportunity. They say, this is so great, this has to be part of our strategy. I'm never going to be a PPC expert, and like, please just make the problem go away. I never want to think about it. So that's typically how it works out, but we're happy to help people however we can.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see some chapters like ours where we have some people on ad agencies on the board who can help our chapter manager. That's great. Other chapters maybe not, or maybe they want to get it set up so that they understand it all. And then as the board shifts, they can expand their relationship with you or decrease it. But I think what I was surprised is, it's not expensive per month to use your service anyhow. So when you talk about $10,000 to possibly drive, it doesn't take that many more members in a year or that many more people coming to the public events we have to make that worth it. And then certainly for anyone on a nonprofit board, this is again, it seems awesome. Looking here, see if there's any other questions. All right, we are getting to the end of our time. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand, throw it in the Q&A panel, because we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. Let me just start a little poll here as well. Boom, there we go. Yeah, any other best practices, Grant, for chapters who are looking to start this, of what other things? So if you're driving members to look at that, hijacking the news, that makes total sense. We had David Merman Scott come into our chapter. I'm sure a lot of people have. He talks about newsjacking all the time. And I could see, if we can simply create a landing page, throw an ad campaign around it, and try to get people directed to our site, or entrepreneurs directed to our site. Any other best practices that you want to share with us today?
I would just quickly say that, like, a lot of people talk about SEO and the relationship between SEO and ads, and the Google Ad Grant is kind of a weird middle ground where usually ads, you're spending tons of money. SEO, you're often spending tons of money paying someone to help you, but in theory, you can do it for free. The ad grant gives you a lot of the benefits of SEO in terms of being at the top of Google search results pages really quickly. That is similar to ads, but without some of the expenditure. So anyway, and we can chat more offline about the interaction between ads and SEO and how people think about that, but that's all I got.
Well, what we'll do is we're going to put your whole deck on the site. Like I said, this whole thing was recorded. We're going to put that on eoraleigh.com/coronavirus. I'll go ahead and put your email address there as well. If people want to reach directly out to you. And then please, anyone who has other nonprofits that they're working with, I mean it in a good way, but I'm just annoyed that I did not know about this sooner. I've been on the boards of multiple nonprofits. We could have used it. Now the one I'm on is absolutely, we're going to have it here shortly, but I can't stress how important this is. And I love the work you're doing, Grant. Thank you so much for doing this today. Everybody else, don't forget, next Thursday, 2 o'clock is our next webinar. eoraleigh.com/coronavirus. You can find out the details. Thanks again for participating today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, everyone.